Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And I am your sensei, me, and I am your griot. I tell you stories. So I've been doing the show for 4 years plus, and I've been kicking out lots of shows in all my YouTube you know, algorithmic data. It's like not quite telling you the sure the story. So many people have said, "Oh, if you only did this, if you been a little more organized, if you use it, blah 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 blah." So I have no idea, right? I can barely see, I can barely breathe, I can barely. I woke up this morning and boy, it was tough. You know, um, you don't hear me complain really, and I just tell you stories, and but I kind of tell you every morning. My ritual is I wake up to screaming pain, and around somewhere around 4 a.m. And usually I wake up because not the pain because of the I take a piss. So I take a piss because I drink a lot of water before I go to sleep, right? And because we are just a bag of water, and the more you put water in you, and the more you piss out, the more you are cleansing the inside of your body, right? So I do that, and then to go back to sleep, I have to meditate, right? And so I go into state and meditate, and so all of the things that are wrong with me, I basically have to say, hey, I had a really great first part of my life, right? And being murdered by a nun in kindergarten, who knew that that was going to be a great a thing? Because she crushed my larynx and my windpipe, and made me go deaf in this ear in certain frequencies, and broke my jaw, and broke the orbit in this eye. So this eye sees things totally different than this eye, than this eye. And I had a lot of issues. Your connection is unstable, just like the world. So that reminds me. Here, take a look at this. I think you'll like it. This, I think, succinctly. Why I do this because it I talk in a exponentially kind of way, and my mouth, because of the way my voice box, how I have to speak isn't like how you speak. So I have a tendency, if I get stuck, I can stutter. So I have to really have it all wired in my head, and that's why it's kind of stream of consciousness. So here is something in my
I
show.
feel that the culture is supportive of you no matter what stage of your career you're in. Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis, freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way. Well, why is it
not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
You're saying
yes.
Let's talk about
fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of our paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime, column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom.
All right.
And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the Worst period, generation, period, ever, period. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite? Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men, men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. Enough? No.
Anyway,
Notable among the features of American colleges is the system of secret societies. In fact, in some colleges, the system has grown to such an extent and the society question has become such a paramount one that it engrosses a large part of the student's life and enlists him in a mighty conflict for the supremacy of his society.
anyway, so when I spent my time in the ivy-covered halls in the 90s, late 80s, and all of the 90s, when I would, be sent off to a university to do a research project or whatever I was doing, I would look around for students that were interesting, and I would start a thing called the Freely Inquiring Society. Freely, not meaning, it didn't cost anything, meaning open, right? Freely. Not a secret society, a really, really open, right? Inquiring, to understand, not to push forth an agenda, but to understand what's going on, right?
Notable among the features of American colleges is the system of secret societies. In fact, in some colleges, the system has grown to such an extent and the society question has become such a paramount one that it engrosses a large part of the student's life and enlists him in a mighty
And that was what I saw and what I tried to deal with, because I went and found people who were really interesting, right? And that was in UNCA, that's when here's the good old Vance Monument, because I took it down because it's named after a Southern Civil War guy, and Asheville was in the Civil War in the South, right? Here's the modern part of it, but and here's the cemetery, the fancy cemetery for all the rich notables, and but here's my little salon, and it was right across from. So here are the guys that I hung out with, and they were about 20 years, 30 years my younger, and I just led by example. I just kept doing stuff in this little town that was super Southern, but I kept doing it, and this girl, she was very sweet. She was a nurse at the hospital. Here is some of the boys, right? And this was an art gallery we put together in a warehouse, and we outwowed the rich guys, right? They're the two big mucky mucks of the art world, at least at that time, and they thought themselves that. And here's some more art world mucky mucks, and but we. And this guy tried to buy the art world. He made his fortune in New York City with Ticketron, Vincent Moron, right? Of the Moron family. And they were going to take over the art world by taking over this big theater the black people had raised money to turn back into the Chitlin Circuit. And, they were going to break every law in the book because they were rich and they could, right? Well, I helped organize a thing called the Artist Trust. I got a hold of the Attorney General of North Carolina at the time. She really didn't like, well, she wasn't the Attorney General, but she was the power behind it. And most power situations, women rule. Anyway, I showed her what he was going to do. I showed her that, isn't this against the law? Isn't this against the law? He was just going to take these organizations and put them into his corporation and take their money. They raised $1 million. It's like stealing $1 million. So this was, he had to have like a community meeting. So we came there, and he thought 3 people would show up. And this was the Artist Trust, and the black folk didn't want to be shot, but they really were the larger audience. And basically he explained, oh, this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 right? And then he didn't even know who this woman was. And she stood up and she goes, hi, I'm the Attorney General of North Carolina. And this is my, so, she had all these lawyers, and she went down the things of all the things that he said he was going to do. And she said, well, this is a felony, this felony, this felony, this felony. And if you vote on this, and then she raised her finger, and the, FBI and the, NCSBI showed up, and they kind of walked her in the room and basically went around his crew and said, if this is agreed to this evening, you're all going to be arrested and put in jail immediately. And then, you're going to have to spend a lot of your money on legal fees. So he basically, because half the people were going to vote for it anyway, so he would go to jail. We had a win-win situation, right? And so he said, wait. Why don't we do this? I didn't know this. No one told me this. So what we're going to do is retract our position, and we're going to turn it all over to the Artist Trust, and they can figure out what to do, which we did. Problem was, we spent 1.5 years and made a great little thing, but he had already economically forced the hand of where it was going to go. And unless everyone in the Artist Trust and the black community wanted to work kumbaya for the next 20 years, Asheville was going to turn out just like it has, a piece of crap, right? So, that was more or less a secret society, of rich people. And he knew me from New York. He knew that I worked for George and George. He knew that I was Lester Public House Best Boy. He knew all the things I did. So he kind of, schmoozed up to me because he wanted me to be his guy. He knew all the things I could do. So I said, sure. But then I was on the inside. I got to see all the things he was going to do. And that's when I took all the legal stuff that he was going to do and took it to the Attorney General and said, what about this? And, so that was just me. But I couldn't have done that without all those people in the room. And I didn't, tell them what to do. I just kind of set things up, showed them what it was, and let them be their better angels, So that's what we have to have right now, our better angels. So I've been out here, I physically died in 2014. And then from 2014 to 2018, I had to crawl my way back up. I had to lose 240 pounds. I had already damaged my body, my liver, my kidney, my spleen, you name it. It was, my eyes, my legs, I have charcoal legs, meaning people, they wanted to cut my legs off. And I said, no, I need those, but I built everything back to where I have homeostasis, balance. Yes. So when I go to sleep and my, nervous system, my autonomic nervous system takes over and I'm not thinking about anything, I'm in dreamy dreamland. I basically, I wake up, and I have to meditate, then I have to, and I have to. So I have no real money. This inflation thing is really putting a crimp on me being able to go anywhere, do anything. But that's okay. I live in heaven, and it's beautiful, right? And so the rich people come in 21 and well, it started in 2021 and then 20 now, and they bought up everything. I mean, everything. Now they have totally really made a dent into the homeostasis of this natural place, and the what's in the ground, how the water's moving, you name it. It's like, uh-oh. I thought this was going to be the last place, but I obviously probably have to move and find another heaven, right? Without all of this, because these guys are just going to, and I'm circled by people who, we're the right people, So I've been going to church. I had my eyes, I had my cataracts removed, and they put new eyeballs in, and it's I can see way better, but my eyes water all the time, so it's like I'm looking through. I feel like a goldfish. I'm looking like I'm looking through the fishbowl, right? So. But none of these things deter me or are enough for me to complain about because it could always be worse. I've known that, right? And so I'm doing pretty good. And even though that $400 I get from Social Security, because of the inflation, is now worth like I went and bought a dozen eggs, some English muffins, some protein. And some water and some a pack of seltzer water, right? And that was $40. It was like, what? I mean, that used to cost me $18, right? So I'm thinking about, and I see people rolling out with just tons of food in their cart, and and behind them it's like, oh, that'll be $400, that'd be $300, that's $690. And I know that these folks throw away. I mean, I don't throw away anything. I mean, I make something, I put it in a jar, and I have no big, gigantic refrigerator, but I kind of live in a swamp heater, right? And I wake up every morning with mushrooms growing on me. And so I open that jar, and there's mold on the top. I scoop off the top of the mold and put the other 3/4 of the jar of stuff I made a couple of days ago into the frying pan. I fry it up. I eat it. I don't throw anything away. Date. I mean, I got cheese in my cold box. That's I bought it back in March. I'm still eating it, and that's 40% of the food the households in America throw it away. And guys, I'm telling you, this time next year, 1 billion people will have starved to death, and about 10 million, if not more, will be in America. And what it is, so all the general stores around here that were really good for the people and employed the people have gone away and been replaced by Dollar Generals and these rich folk who buy up big tracts of land and going to build big gated communities with big rich folks, and there is no it's very interesting. It's a rainforest, but there is no water in certain areas, right? So they built this little teeny dam and flooded out a whole valley, and that was supposed to be the water, right? But people have built houses all around it, and just because it's in a county that has no real building codes, they just pour their sewage into the drinking water. Now, why I bought this place is that I found that it was right on an artesian well, and that the land I bought has a spring box from the old farm and an old well. And it has the other well that everyone is hooked up to, which someone who owns that well could turn it off in a minute. And I've been here 20 years. I never paid an electric bill for that well. There is no communal anything. I mean, it's supposed to be, but there isn't, right? I'm the only guy who's been here forever, right? So, but all the land has been bought, and people are starting to get itchy fingers. But interest rates have gone up, so it slowed the building of stuff. If you hadn't done your building by January of this year, it slowed that kind of stuff way down. And, the other 2021, well, the property was bought, and it just crushed the poor few holler folk that are left, right? So anyway, so I've been here since physically 20 years, but I really only lived here, stayed here, been here for the last 4 years, right? So last 4 or 5 years I've been, what does Al Bob do other than talk to you guys? I basically, because there is no employment, I try to do my social thing around here, and everyone knows me, but you can't do a social thing when you're the only guy doing a social thing, right? So when I had my eyes operated, the people I had lined up to drive me, because when they make you blind for a day or two, you can't drive there and drive back. Unless you got somebody with you, they won't do the operation. So I had 3 people lined up just in case, and they all punked out on me on the last day. I was going to have the operation on Monday, and they, said no on Sunday. So I was driving to go talk to you guys and have breakfast, and I basically saw this church that I drive by a zillion times, never went into. I said, I'm going to go in. Drove in, and it was packed to the gills, right? And I walked in there, and this lady looked at me, and she didn't say, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" You're not one of us. She didn't say any of that. She said, "How can we help you?" And I've been thinking the whole driving there, how am I going to get a ride to the eye guy tomorrow? I said, and I listening to the preacher guy, and he's giving the sermon about the Good Samaritan, and I'm going, I said, well, you know what I need? And she goes, what? How can we help you? I need a Good Samaritan. And she goes, what? I said, well, tomorrow I have to get an operation, and I need to be driven there, and I have nobody to do it. She goes, I just got the guy. And she goes down into the thing, taps this guy on the shoulder. I see them talking. I see him smiling. He comes over and he looks at me. He goes, and I go, so you're the Good Samaritan? He goes, yes. He starts giggling and jumping up and down. And he goes, I've been thinking how to do this. And here you are. It's like a miracle. I said, yep, that's me. I'm a miracle boy. Anyway, so we talk a little bit, and he says, I got to get back to church. But he says, where you live? I told him, I said, I know exactly. You're right there at the school bus. Yeah, the school bus. Yep. And so, that's what I live in, a school bus. And so that's my man cave. And so, he said, I know exactly where you live. So he came, he said, I'll be, my appointment was like at 11, and he came at 8 o'clock. So he came and got me. He said, I'm going to take you to breakfast. I said, well, I can't, I'm going to have an operation. So he took me all around every which way. And just kind of, and we talked and we talked and we talked. And he was like, right. And so he basically, dropped me off. He had to come in with me, and he had to give him his name and his phone number. And then they made him wait. Because of COVID, and this is now, this was like, a month and a half ago, COVID, they just love to control, the Nazis and the medical, you have to wait in your car. He goes, but it's like 90 degrees out there and I have air conditioning. Sorry. So I go, so I'm going to go out with him and talk to him. She goes, okay. You're like 6 on 1, in about 20 minutes, we'll be ready to take you in. So, I go, and I said, he can't sit here with me for those 20. Oh, no. And there was no one in the waiting room. It's a gigantic waiting room, like 100 seats, and there's no one there. And, he's like communicable, and he was ready to wear, he had his mask, and no one's wearing masks anymore. So anyway, it was just surreal. So I will go out there and I pull out my little laptop, right? And I basically I'll say, here, I want you to read this. I've been writing these novels, and no one reads them. And so I'm going to send you. I'm going to show you, put a novel. So I'm going to read you. So from now on, I'm going to talk a little bit and then read from my novels. So here we go. And now I'm prefacing this because broken this, couldn't speak for 3 years as a child, had a serious stutter. I have dyslexia. I reverse everything, see it upside down. So I read really quick, but it just goes in my brain and it sops it up and it's not a problem. So I can read other stuff real quick. And I can read out loud, but I don't read as well as I talk because I've got the little story that I'm going to tell you all wound up on the tape recorder and I just play it back. And it seems that I do things, stream of conscious, but it is on the tape recorder. So as I read this, I may sound stilted. I may stutter, but I'm just going to get on through it and read it. And the other thing is my writing, I sculpt it like a piece of marble. So my writing is basically written to be read because it's shamanic and it goes straight into the brain pan. Having me read it out loud, it may seem confusing to you because instead of it going in through your optic nerve straight into your brain, it's going through your ears and it's going to be. But I'm just going to do this because people said, you should do something regularly on your show. So I'm going to read you I have 5 novels. And I'm just going to start with the first one. It's a series. It's called X-Rated. Right? So here we go, kids. And I'm going to read until I don't want to read anymore. Okay? I'm going to read each word, right? Maybe even punctuation. Because like I say, I kind of, it's sculpted. So, and you can't see it. So I wish I could figure out how to let you see it instead of my face. So here we go. Number 1, book number 5. Read this first, maybe. Our New Old No Fear Legacy Anthology. From yesterday's nowhere of history to our here and now of tomorrow, within our non-linear realization of our existence, love's co-creation of our conscious, free wielding, ascending, eternal spirit. A novel of issues to represent. Legacy, the anthology, is book number 5, 4th in the X-Rated series. Read it first, maybe. Poetry's run-on sentence, copyrighted by Albob, 1121 in the deep green. Love's unheard voice. Love's unheard voice said, into the minds that would hear when you, quote, when you do the same reptile thing over and over, it is always a failure. You aren't nearly crackers. It is more to the point. You are a fraud to all our relations of one love's spirit. And I'm going to stop every now and then and give a little explanation of things, right? So that term, it is, I have in quotes because when I was a little boy, I used to hypnotize myself and didn't know it. And I, get ready to go to school, to walk down the big road to get on the bus. And my mom, she didn't care. She was like, she wasn't awake. My dad, he would shine our shoes. He would make oatmeal and he would leave before we got up. And the oatmeal would be waiting and our shoes would be shined. And my dad, he was sweet, kind, but he was destroyed by being a military man, right? And so one morning, how I would hypnotize myself, and there is this hypnagogic technique where you you may see hypnotists on the stage, and they will pat people on the back, or they will put their hand on their back or their arm. And there is a way, if you make body contact, it distracts the conscious mind to a point where the unconscious comes to the surface, and then you can be put into a hypnagogic state. So little did I know of this, when I was like, 10, and I was putting on my socks, and I had one pair of socks in my hands and the other one on my leg, and I was just looking at the one on my leg, and then the one in my hand, I just rubbed it against my bare leg, and before I knew it, I was in a trance, right? And I would go off, and that's one of the ways I learned how to meditate is that I did this. Meditation and hypnosis are very close. So I was on that state of mind, and I just kept seeing things, right? And I've seen things my whole life, and I saw this one thing that it just kept coming to me. It is, it is, it is, it is. And the it is was that the ego, it is irrelevant. It is false. It is non existent. It is a lie. So the it is world is what we see. So from here on in, when you hear me use the term it is, that's what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Legacy. The anthology is book number 5, fourth in the X-Razid series. Read first. Read first. Right? That. And we have to think about all of our relations, 9 generations in the future, do that. No. This conversation on the reality of the material illusion between conditional love and unconditional love, and that is and this conversation on the reality of the material illusion between conditional love and unconditional love. It is what the self-indulgent try to understand. They try. They don't do. They don't do their best. They just try. They read a textbook. Understand. Does Johnny's ash hole burn? That's the question they ask. Does Johnny's ash hole burn? As the poster boy for the unipolar hegemonic, as that mean what of anything is life good for? In life, that every kid Johnny, are like that yeoman on Star Trek who wears a white shirt. He's going to die. Look at South Park. Kenny always dies, but he's Jesus. Kenny is Jesus because he dies and he comes back all the time. Bastards, they killed Kenny. So every and Johnny is the ubiquitous. Why? Because he doesn't have it as bad. Like, when I was a little kid, I went out shopping to Corvettes, which was like the early version of Walmart's. And it was during the Korean War. And Corvettes were these Korean vets who pooled their money and started the store that was like Walmart's in Long Island in New York. And so that's where we did our shopping, and they gave S&H green stamps, and my mom loved that. And so they years later they found that the glue on the S&H stamp, because you had to take the green stamps and glue them into these little books, and then you turned in the books, and then you got a crappy piece of silverware or something. And she had us do it, and they found that the glue was made with arsenic. So all my brothers and sisters who really were forced to do it, I never did it. Their issues I have to deal with the S&H green stamps. But anyway, we came back from shopping, and the police were there around our house, and in the ambulance and the fire trucks, and Bobby Smith, Bobby with a Y. He and his brother fell out of the tree fort, and both of them fell chest into picket fence. So two sons of this family, the Smiths, where they had their boys, stuck like Vlad would stick the people he didn't like on spears and hang them on the sides of the road. These guys were on our front picket fence, and the fire service went, if we pull them off, they'll bleed to death. So what do we do? And I was just there looking at this, and I said, do you got a saw? And they said, what? And I went into the garage and got Mr. Orr's power saw, and we cut the white things off, and they put him in the ambulance with the picket fence still stuck on their chest. So whenever I talk about Johnny, it's not John Birmingham, because he's not Johnny, but he is the reference point because he is the Mary in the cultural coal mine of ubiquitous time right now. And like Kenny, he's like Jesus. He really is. He is beyond special. And I worked in a hospital for people who had autism, grown-ups, right? And these people were like children. And once I realized that, I understood that they were innocent and kind and generous. And instead of making I'm just going to let him sit upside down in the chair. This conversation on the reality of the material illusion between conditional love and unconditional love, it is what the self-indulgent try to understand. Does Johnny Ashhole as the poster boy for the unipolar hegemonic as the mean what of anything question mark is life, and then $ good semicolon for big $ question mark, right? This question, no matter how like magic it is, because people use it as the frame for religion, and most religions look like magic, like magic, it is an epistematic matter. Who am I? What say Gertrude J. Stein? That wasn't really her middle initial. She's a Johnny. Wallace J. Stevens, again, That's not his, And then John Ashbery, and that guy is like, whoa, you should read him. And John Yale, and many other Johns. Here it is. How am I going to pay my bills? And that's what we are made to think is the main reason for living in a world where we have conditional love, because we have to pay our bills. Okay, that was the introduction. Act number 1, scene 1. We here in the early 21st century, just before 9/11, being of the lot, with an asterisk, and there's a thing in this thing at the end of the book. It's called the it's a thing that explains stuff, right? General, whatever they call it. And so lot, I used as like there's a lot you sell things. There's a lot real estate. There's a lot of stuff you get at an auction, and also there was the character in the Bible named Lot, and so that Lot represents all of that, right? So Act 1, Scene 1A. We here in the early 21st century, just before 9/11. Now everyone thinks 9/11 happened 20 years ago. No, that was the precursor. That was the thing to kick it off. 9/11 has not happened yet. Right? Being of the lot, when it comes to it is being in a life of all that all that semicolon incomprehensible period shows us the only moment we have is now. Quote, love's unheard voice, Saint Germain, the Pigtail Girl, and the Amazing Girl. And it was written in Putney, Vermont, 1970, when I was in ashram with that's something I was thinking about back in 1970. Scene 1A, small a. What did they say? Gertrude Stein. Where is Johnny? He said to be here on the dot of 9:27 p.m. Right? And then this other guy, and so Gertrude Stein from now on will be GS, and Wallace Stevens will be WS, and John Ashbery will be GA, and John will be JY. Right? So GS says, "Where is Johnny?" He said to be on the dot be here on the dot 9:27 p.m. WS says, Johnny said 8:27 a.m. Johnny JA says, Johnny is not the most comprehensible or timely. Johnny is trademarked as the king of a lot of frackin' morons, shithole asswipes. When it comes to incomprehension, Johnny makes incomprehension exciting. You never know where you stand with Johnny, life or death. Now, I also have along these sentences Bible quotes. Like so after that one, it's Matthew 28:6, right? But I'm not gonna you have to go look those up. Yeah. Are we safe with Johnny? Usually not. Johnny always leaves us in the middle of the cliff in lurch. In the middle of the cliffs, lurch. Just hanging around. That's exactly where we are now, 5, 7, 15, 11:45 p.m. Get out! Suddenly in the cold, homeless. Thanks, Johnny. And that's just a reference to that day is when he threw me out for like maybe the 28th time. Why is Johnny the druid? No, actually, that was like earlier on, That was like after the Russian girl. Why is Johnny the druid Marlboro man of ego's golden rule? Who has the gold rules? Why is Johnny always ready to fornicate under church and king? That's what the word fuck means. The word fuck means to fornicate under the church and king, meaning The church and the king could kick the door in and rape your wife, your daughter, anybody. That's what the word fuck means. That the church and the king will fuck you, right? To fornicate under church and king. That's what the word fuck means. To kill, lie, and steal loves all our relations, poetic one love of the moment of co-creation's work in progress, whip, right? Work in progress. And that goes to the biblical in Hebrews, when Moses was up on the hill looking after the goat and looking at the stars, it's like things shot down, boom, oh, the bush caught fire. And the bush talked to Moses, right? Moses, go to Egypt and free our people, you know. And we didn't get the real translation of the conversation. We didn't get the the legal thing, right? And so Moses, smart guy, I mean, he's running Egypt. And so, but he was happy as a clam being up on that hill with the goats and had a nice wife and good family and all the rest. And now, the burning bush. And he goes, why should I do that? Screw you. And he said, no, no. You have to set the Hebrews free. And he goes, screw them. Look what they did to me. Right. And now the burning bush, who is, God, or as I call in the Hebrew, Gob, because that God of the Old Testament is pretty wrathful guy, and all he really seems to be interested in is, the golden rule. Who has the gold rules? He wants the gold. So he goes, I am. Now, it's not like in the movie, the burning bush did not say, I am who I am. Only Popeye says that. He said, I am a work in progress, and the Hebrew nation is a reflection of me. I want you to go there not to save them from the Egyptians because they weren't slaves. They weren't cleaning out toilets. They were middle managers, right? They were caterers and, they did shit like that. And so they were, they had slaves. They were living pretty high on the hog. So that's what they were getting addicted to, was that, right? The good life. And that's what happened to me when I worked in the corporate world for 10 years. I gained 240 pounds and died a plate of spaghetti, and that's what had to wake me up, right? Dying like that. And then being rolled into, I woke up from my life's, observation with my masters, who said, oh, you're doing a great job, but you're only done 89% of it. You got to go back and do the other 11. Or you can die and you can hang out here in this cafeteria and eat cake and wear party hat for a while till you get bored, and then you'll have to be placed in the wearing blend of karma, and you'll be spat out, and you'll be spat out in not a terrible place because you've done a pretty good job. 89% is pretty good, better than most. And you'll be semi self-aware. But if you go back and complete this 11%, the best you can do, you don't have to be perfect. You'll be able to step up, right? Because there is no going to heaven. I mean, at least not right now, but there is ascension where you can become more aware and you can go through your life doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that is existing in love's co-creation. You got to realize that, um, everything is here for a purpose. That's, when I was, in the ashram, when I was in the more esoteric version of that, meaning my teachers were, not in body, and that came when I was with my second wife. And from the first time we had ecstatic sharing of our love, after we were like worn out after, having whoopee for like 8 hours, we'd both be, and she would then go into state. And she would channel these characters. And the characters were sent to us. I mean, we were sent to each other so this could happen, so we could be learned, right? So for the first couple of times, they were all speaking languages I had no idea what the heck they were. I mean, I knew Latin, I knew Greek, I could, pass from pretty much all the romantic. No, not even close. Not even close to Egyptian or Farsi or Hebrew or nothing, right? So I had a little tape recorder. Third time, I tape recorded, and I went up to Colombia, where a friend of mine was a linguist, and I played it for him. And he said, "Whoa, where'd you get this?" I said, "Out of the mouth of my wife." And he was, He goes, but it's a guy's voice. I know. Don't, So he said, well, I can't tell you anything about where any of this comes from, but this one here, because there were not just one voice, there were a lot of them. This guy, this is semi-American. I can tell where it's coming from. I can't translate it 100%, but he's basically saying that the two of you were put together so that these guys and gals could talk to you and inform you on what you're doing here, right? And so that's what it's about, right? That's why we were put together, right? And I write the whole story about that, so you can go read that one. So I have 5 novels, got a lot of stuff here. So how are we doing this? You guys like this so far? So I've only read about 4 paragraphs, so I'll keep reading a few more just so you get the real taste of it. So I think I've got the drift on how I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to read a bit and then explain it, read some more, explain it. So this next chunky paragraph, you'd have to see, because not only is it what I'm going to read you, but things like Johnny and the J's all line up in the beginning and make a pattern. And then in the middle of each sentence, there's an A that goes down and makes a shamanic symbol. And, so that's why you got to kind of read this on the printed page. But I'll read it to you just so you get I'm explaining it to you. So I'm doing the best I can here. So here we go. Let's see. We'll go back to, why is Johnny the Druid Marlboro Man of Ego's Golden Rule? Now that's John Birmingham. Who has the gold rules? Why is Johnny always ready to fornicate under church king and kill, lie, and steal? Loves all our relations, poetic one love of the moment of co-creation, work in progress. And that's what the burning bush said, I am a work in progress. You are my reflection. Go save the Hebrews. Johnny is covered by a papal bull of ? Google that one. Johnny is more than a spiritual golem for the Holy Roman Empire. Johnny Toilet. The A-lister in Ego's mud puppet cave. And then Gertrude Stein says, that was GA speaking all of that. GS says, you mean masturbating shithole Johnny? Yep. And GA says, yep, that Johnny, the canary in the gold mine of pain. And WS says, you mean the contract man for the hidden hand? UPTNO, the unipolar transnational oligarchy. That's what UPTNO. And the Neo Insane Clown Party is the poster of that entity. And the Neo Insane Clown Party is any political entity going on. The people's, the Chinese People's Party, the Russians, the EU's, the Brexit tears, the Democrats in America, the Republicans, they're all just wings of the same corporate bird of the UPTNO. And that's why we're having wars everywhere while children are dying. The only people who really die in wars are the innocents. Even the soldiers are the innocents, because they're lied to. So JA says, that's Toilet Johnny hunting down love's word heard by the artist in the first person. And then we have Matthew 5:16. And pretty much that character who was in, Adam and Eve is the artist in the first person, right? And they didn't have an original sin. They had an original thought. And they decided that they were going to step out of the Garden of Eden and be challenged so they could be a good reflection of the burning bush. So we go back to J.A. saying, that's Toilet Johnny hunting down love's word heard by the artist in the first person. Matthew 5:16. Toilet Johnny says, I hate those lucky bastards. We and me, unconditional love's artist in the service to one loves. Whips co-creation. Always saving the day. I do more to look good like an A-lister should. It is me to be famous. I just want to destroy all of beauty's poetic alchemy, of love's miraculous, unexpected consequence of the moment of all our relations, we and me. Meaning our lives aren't about us, it's about all of us. All of it. Fuck the we and me. I am the I am. Gob's mercantile faux poet of the Johnny Toilet, who serves the land, who surveys the land, scrapes off ego's shit, and then extracts the seam of the meme of one loves to be conditional, auctioned on the block of the slave soul of all our relations, erased value as its conditional love. Then WS says, whoa, that all sounds pretty darn incomprehensible to me. GS says, John, where is Johnny? And JA replies, that question is best answered with this statement. Do we all just want to be Taylor Durbin wannabes? Now that's a question, but I said the best way to, ask the question is with this statement, and then I ask a question. See what I mean? You got to kind of read this stuff. You got to see the words. I mean, I'm sculpting them, right? I'm like the Salvatore Dali of sculpting the word, right? With my publishing friend who I sent this to read, he goes, "This is amazing. This is like whoa." But you're like James Joyce on acid, you know, and I took that as a great compliment. Or do we ask the card questions? Psalms 116, 1 through 2. What is it I want to know? Is there someone here for me? What good is it now to be when I have always hated myself? What words, me, when the meaning to everything is love? What good would love do now when I just want to kill myself? But I'm scared of hell. What have I what? Question mark. Have I misjudged love? Question mark. When I hear you say, forgive yourself. That's the unheard word of love said that. Well, okay. What page have we gotten to? We've gotten to page 4. Let's finish page 3. Right? Love is immutable, all else is illusion. With faith, go with love's we in me, co-creation. And so say we all. And that was my cheer. I got it from, that TV. Chapter number 1. This is unheard voice saying, call me, love's unheard voice, and say, each must have the ability to bring by their presence the most ability to change for the better, because that there I helped start a thing in Roanoke called Community Cultivators, and it was started by this great guy Caleb Jones, who had the barbershop. He had the quintessential barbershop where everyone hung out, and he was the mayor. There are all these black guys, you know, priests and religious people and bankers and real estate guys who wanted to be the mayor, but he was because he led by example. and this kid got shot, and it was like the fifth one of that year, and the kid was coming out of a drugstore, and he had a toy in his hand. He was a kid, and someone called up and said, "Oh, there's a man with a gun in front of the drugstore," and this was the drugstore in the white neighborhood, right? It was the one that was selling all the OxyContin. And so the two names of it's almost in whatever drugstore got sued for that, and that's the one he was in front of. Um, and it was lit up like a ball stadium. It's like you couldn't miss this kid, and he had this toy gun that was screaming orange, and it was in the package, and it said "toy gun" in big letters, and he's coming out with this thing in his hand, and this police car zooms up with the blue lights flashing, and these guys jump out and are behind the door, don't say a word to him. He doesn't. He just kind of looks up at he's in the headlights, and he's in the front of the store, and each of them have 9 millimeter Glocks, and empty both their service revolvers into the kid. He had like 20 bullets in him, right, or more. He died of lead poisoning. That's what the ME said. Not that he was shot by police, but that he died from lead poisoning. Anyway, this was like about the fifth one. He was a kid. It was so obvious, and that parking lot had more, um, video cameras, and got it from every and inflated like nonstop. So the black community was about to burn Roanoke to the ground. And I hobbled into there, and there was this guy who which should have been the police chief, but he basically wasn't. He was a captain of everything, and he was the boss, and everyone called him boss. But the chief and the colonel and the major, who were up on the bottom at top, making all the decisions on what protocols were going to be, he was trying to push and get his police force to be a community policing. We became buds. He had me go with the cops, talk to them, and try to get them into that idea. But you know, the real deal was lieutenants and the sergeants below when they'd send them out. Be safe out there. Everyone come home safe. You know, meaning that was the code. Shoot him in the head. And so he was that. And so he closed me up. He goes, "This is bad. You better do something." I said, "I should do something." I said, "No, you are going to do something." And he said, I said, "We are going to go down into, you're going to wear your police uniform, and I'm going to be hobbling along with my legs in metal clamps and with my walker. And we're going to just walk down the street, and we're going to walk, um, into this barbershop where everyone goes to talk about stuff." And so we did. And we had a really good communication, a good conversation. And I walked in first, right? And everyone was like hopping mad, and the TV had, they were running the video of the kid getting shot over and over again. I mean, somebody wanted the black community there to burn the place down, you know? And so I walked in, and the guy turns around, the barber, Khalib, and he's still cutting hair. He doesn't like stand on the soap opera. He just keeps cutting hair, talking to people one at a time. But everyone else is in there. There are about 70 people, 100 people in this little, not little, pretty big barber shop. And there's two TVs with this going on. And in the back is the hip hop guys from Constant, what's OMB, MBO, or some name, and this is the early O's, and straight from Compton. I forget the name of that band, but they had shoot the cop. And that song was going on, and so people are like really. So I walk in and basically I walk in. The little bell on the door goes. Bing, bing, bing. I walk in. I got a walker in front of me. I'm wearing, it's wintertime, and I'm wearing lime green shorts, and I've got these metal clamps on my legs, and I've got a walker in front of me, and we've got a Hawaiian shirt and a big screaming pink coat that goes down to my knees, and a big floppy woman's hat with flowers on it. and I got these like welder glasses on, and I walk in, and you know, Kelly and everyone. I mean, the TV goes off, the hip hop goes off. Everyone is silent. You could hear a pin drop. Khalid looks at me, goes, "What do you want?" I have really long, ratty hair, right? And I go, "I want to, it's a barbershop. I want a haircut." So everyone laughs hysterically. And Khalid goes, and what do you want to, and he's got all these pictures all around the barbershop of all, and this is in the day when, instead of having the afro, they like lawnmower, flat top, 7 stories above your head, and then put, lightning bolts in it, So I want to look like that guy, right? And everyone, because I have super straight hair and it's sticking out like an old crazy man like Albert Einstein. And this one guy, "Hey, it's Einstein." And so until people started calling me Al, my name. We're going to see if we can go back to the future, back to the live stream. Let's see if anyone has said anything. Let's see. Nobody's watching. Oh, look, 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. So this is a good time to leave. There's nobody. No one said anything. Fish said hi, and that was about it. So I'm going to leave right now. I'll come back in the afternoon, and I would say about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and we'll see. And I won't read anymore on that one. And that's how the show will go. I will in the morning, if I can, I will do exactly what I just did right here, right now. I think this was a good show. I hope people watch this. And then this afternoon, about 2 hours, 3 hours, I will come back and get a conversation going with everyone who's watched. Okay, there we go.